always pleased to have our next speaker, Donald Patrick Lim. His current impressive role is the Chief Innovation Officer of Udenna, which is certainly a high-flying operation with companies in various sectors with operations across the country. So Donald has a very good background. He's really moved up his career. Former country CEO of Dentsu Aegis, Chief Digital Officer of ABS-CBN, Managing Director of MRM Manila, and so on. He's really got a high-flying career and such a nice fellow and always a good speaker. So we're really pleased to have an update from him. Please welcome Donald Patrick Lim. So glad to have you, Donald.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for having me again. Always appreciate meeting up with you again, Richard, and all the other high flyers in the Asia CEO Forum. No, I think we've got a good network going together already amongst us. The reality is, while we see a lot of good stuff that is coming out in some of the news, very optimistic, I would always say that it's all about also anchoring on what is the reality. And also, how do we move up and prepare our organization? That's why I term it leading the new normal. As what Richard said, I'm part of the Udenna Group. We are actually a conglomerate. Our flagship is Phoenix. So retail stores, we have Family Mart. Our retail, we have Condis and Wendy's. We have a school. We're in logistics and shipping, property management, gaming, tourism. I'm with Dito CME. So Dito CME actually handles the third telco and among many other digital businesses of the entire Udenna Group. So let me start my presentation with one of my favorite quote by Rahm Emanuel. And he said, he's a former mayor of Chicago. And he said, "You never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that is an opportunity to do things you could not do before. For the past 20 years, we've seen the economic boom. We've seen a lot of businesses wanting to be very aggressive, expansion. But I think 2020 is something that especially the last year, is something for all of us to go back and reflect on what we really want to do. Sometimes we became very busy moving forward. We forgot to take stock on what we have and what we should be doing. In a sense, going back to fundamentals and going back to the basics. Moss last year actually gave a very interesting quote on the COVID, and he said, it's a challenge like many of us have never seen before. The circumstances are taking us beyond our knowledge and capabilities. There's an avalanche of information, but hard to know what is correct. There are competing priorities: keeping people healthy versus keeping the business going. It's a highly dynamic situation. It changes by the minute, and the endpoint is not at all clear. No, even up to now, while many people are getting their vaccines, we still don't know when will we be going back to work and things will be going, back to pre-COVID times. So high uncertainty and high stakes. Many of us have been, trying to keep our business afloat given all of what's happening. And for most of us in the business and the management segment, of course, for not only us but all of us, decisions have to be made under stress and in real time. And having said that, if we look at the industry, many businesses, especially the smaller ones, are really closing down. They're closed service because of the COVID-19. Sorry, we're closed until end of the outbreak. If you just Google business closures COVID, you will see so many articles about it. Here in the country, of course, Marco Polo, the big ones, who you thought would be not only the smaller ones were not spared, even the bigger ones decided to stop a bit, right, and recheck what they should be doing. Again, these are some of the top articles when I Googled. For Honda, one Isuzu dealership closed. And closing is not a bad thing. It's actually, again, it's all about taking stock. And that's why we said 2020 was what we call the Great Pause. Work may not have slowed down if we can help it. However, the extended lockdown period has restricted physically visiting the workplace for many, socialization, travel, and general recreation. From the fast pace that governed our days and weekends, these restrictions have forced us to slow down what some would have called the Great Pause. This period will change how we move, work, learn, live, travel, play, govern. It will change everything. And that is why in the history books, the COVID-19 pandemic will be named along with the world wars, the Industrial Revolution, movements that completely reshaped and reconfigured society. Right? So if 2020 is what you call the Great Pause, I would say that if you talk about 2021, the World Economic Forum calls it the Great Reset. So we paused, and now it's a reset. It's a reboot for all of us to redo, no? And after recalibrating, it's all about moving forward. After you press the reset button, right, the engine starts going again, right? The computer starts booting up. And Klaus Schwab, no, who's the with WEF, no, says no that the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Right, something that is a good reminder for most of us here in business, right? That a narrow window of opportunity to really reflect, reimagine, reset. No, we've taken a lot from the world, no, in terms of resources. It's all about now how do we reimagine a future with COVID as a reminder. If you look at the Great Reset, it's all about shaping, no, and you can actually Google this. This is from the World Economic Forum. It's all about shaping the economic recovery. Many have been affected. How do we step back and now push forward? How do we redesign social contracts, skills, and jobs? How do we restore the health of the environment? How do we develop now more sustainable business models for us? Of course, we have to look at harnessing the fourth industrial revolution, talking about AI, machine learning, robotics. That would be the new starting point for all of the businesses moving forward. How do we also strengthen regional development, partner with all of our other regional counterparts? So it's not about Philippines anymore, right? I think aptly Asia CEO Forum is all about how do we collaborate with our Asian counterparts and how do we revitalize global cooperation. More and more because of digital, we are forced and push towards a totally global business. So we can't even say now, even if you're an SME, you're focused on the Philippines or something that's very local. No, we have to look at the world. It's our entire business playbook. And if you look at digital and COVID, it has actually required a paradigm shift for most of us, especially in our organizations. In our workplace, there's a return to form, but not back to normal. But once the health risks have diminished, we will all head back to work, school, malls, churches. How will routines and spending completely bounce back, right? While we start going out again, habits and mindsets formed during the extensive lockdown period may prevail. And at the same time, some groups will find it more difficult to recover. And there is, again, that potential to reimagine the future. The coronavirus has surfaced critical issues that need to be addressed if we want to avoid the same situation as future pandemics rise. One positive from the lockdown was that it gave us an opportunity to truly reset, and we must embrace this and push innovation, especially in various units, no? Healthcare, local housing, mental health, and other issues. So we will see a change from traditional work where people would be thinking of just staying in the office is part of, and it's part of HR mandate, right? It's part of the business to stay at work. Now there's what you call the rise of non-traditional work. So the attitudes will change completely. And at the same time, many are turning to also their side hustles, online work, and even secondhand market. No, they soon realize that even if you are working with a big company, you're not in a way safe. The impact of COVID really showed the vulnerability even of the most established organization. So we're going to see more people really embracing work from home arrangements, no? And many companies may embrace a new role for the office with fewer employees coming in each day. In fact, we have to relook at even how the office will be reconfigured. We even reconfigured our office already. So no one would have their own permanent space. You can be going around. They will have more meetings and boardrooms. The new work week may be just home, and then maybe just one or twice a day going to the office. No? So we're going to see more of that becoming a reality. At the same time, a lot of us would be going online to augment their earnings. So people are seeing already that because the business, the organization, no, where they're working will not be secure. They would also try to attempt, no, and to earn something on their own also on the side, what they call the side hustle. No? So side hustling to augment learning. We've seen a lot of, for example, in the ad agency side, a lot of the creative people after working maybe 9 to 6 or 9 to 7, they also go online and also become a multimedia designer servicing other countries. They're also diversifying income streams. They're looking at making a lot of. If you've seen the articles on online stock market, people are investing in cryptocurrency among others. No, so they're diversifying on where they will be earning from. No? And most of the hobbies will also be monetized. So people who are into a bit of cooking, a bit of craft are now using it to sell already, no? So that they will be able to sustain themselves. And there's what we call the hyper e-growth that's happening, all because fueled by what we call the hyper e-growth. We're seeing hyper e-growth in three areas: e-commerce, e-services, and e-finance. The last year, e-commerce has actually increased in terms of search. Now, so all of my trends that I'm sharing with you all come trends from search and from social media. So super apps are expanding from carts to marts. Every super app right now also have a what they call a mart category, where they allow you to now purchase groceries on top of just food or transporting people from one to the other. Most of these more established companies who initially thought that a website is not in that important versus their off-site, no, or their physical stores, and now we're seeing that having a website may be able to drive. In fact, it has already increased in traffic and drive more of their customers. No? And again, because of COVID and digital, it has become an equalizing effect. Even the big is now having to are now requiring themselves to compete head on with the small. With the small companies. No? When it comes to e-services, we've seen how this has grown tremendously. Before, teaching or education is something seen that's impossible, especially teaching kids online. But now we have already spent a year where we've seen our entire batch of students have now finished one entire school of online learning. And at the same time, professions like the doctors who would say that that's why they're a doctor, you have to physically see you, now is opening up. And we've seen more and more in the healthcare category, allowing Zoom or online consultations already. And how is that propelled? Is because of e-finance. Many people are now downloading more and more bank apps, payment wallets, and that is what they pay. No, so in e-services, before you go to the doctor, you pay first, and then that gives you the 15-minute window, right, before you get to see them face to face. But at the same time, we've seen that also challenges, no, because all of these banks, most of the financial institutions, were not ready to keep up. No, I think only now that I think finally they're able to keep up. No, but initially when we were scanning, almost every bank were challenged with the maintenance and the upkeep of their mobile app and their websites. So in March 2020, more than a year ago already, we've seen the lockdown. Today, we're almost at the end of the hourglass. The sun is almost over. We have to now start what we call mastering our business pivot, or have we made a business pivot? It's not going to be what we call a normal. No, it's not a new normal. No, it's what we call a next normal. It's going to be a new reality coming up around. No, so we have to learn how to make a pivot, shifting without moving away from the core. No, when we're playing basketball, you move up if you move up the court, you're dribbling. When you stop, you can move left, move right, but you cannot lift the other foot, right? Or else that will be traveling. And that's the essence of a pivot. You don't move away from your core, but you look left, you look right, and assess all the other possible opportunities. Because what we're certain of is that what happened with COVID, it's what you call a black swan event. They create lasting change. These are extremely rare events with large impact and potentially severe consequences. In 9/11, we saw stricter aviation security. With World War II, we saw the women joining the workplace. And 2003 in SARS was actually prompted the e-commerce boom in China. So, for example, we've seen how other companies have made their pivot. Like Marriott, I got this from an email. They said that, since you cannot come to our hotel to stay in our hotel, why don't you buy the Marriott bed, or our pillows, linens, beddings, baths, or scents? Right? So who would have thought that a hotel will be selling their beds or baths or scents? We've seen also a lot of the local companies now. Who would have thought that a Jollibee will be selling frozen chicken joy, especially during the start of the pandemic, frozen chicken joy in most of the supermarkets. Or Potato Corner, where they would dump the fries only when you order because it has to be fresh cooked fries, now sending it to you frozen, right? You buy it frozen and you get to cook it yourself. Or ramen houses where you cannot even take it home. Now, when you're eating there, now you can actually take it home, right? Or who would have thought that a Jollibee can now have a real virtual party via Zoom, right? So we're seeing all of these innovations happening and all of these making a pivot, looking at other business alternatives to sustain their business. Uniqlo, for example, with the AirSIM technology, they made a pivot. Now we're having an AirSIM face mask. Right, so and this actually, when they launched this, was actually a whole line of from the Japanese stores, Tokyo stores, people were lining up just to buy the AirSIM face mask. Right, so again, 2020, right, great pause, great reset. 2021 is all about bouncing back. right? For us in Family Mart, we started diversifying. We even have our own, using our container vans. We're also selling, going around to stores, selling our LPG, selling Family Mart products. No? And this, of course, like what we call having our using our container vans. We're actually opening up more and more outlets using these container vans. Enduron, for example, has gone into purely online learning. If you want to learn how to cook, in fact, we even send you everything, so you don't have to prepare it yourself. Everything is there, even the soy sauce and the vinegar and the salt. Everything is complete. And of course, for us, we've embarked into, for example, online learning. We saw that there's a big growth in online learning. So again, we're seeing this pandemic because of now we have technology as a catalyst, where we set up Luna Academy, which is the future of upskilling. We can actually put most of your Asia CEO courses here and talks. No, so it's we partnered with trade organizations, we partnered with educational institutions, and now it's like the local Coursera, Filipino courses for Filipinos. And that's why I always ask, what is your COVID story? I hope that this is a time where we look at the quote of Jack Ma, says opportunity lies in where the complaints are, right? And I hope that COVID is also an opportunity for us to look at what we can, what kind of business opportunities we can seize. Because as the dust settles now, slowly, we will see maybe hopefully in the fourth quarter, where most of us would have the vaccine, it's all, the gates will be open again and we will now be running. So let me end with my favorite hashtag. While I hope COVID is not forever, the mindset that it has instilled in us, the discipline, how we look at the world, how we look at people will permanently change, right? And hopefully we bring that with us as we move forward to the next normal. So with that, thank you for having me.